Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Deja vu. It's like we do this Groundhog Day thing every Sunday here. It's like every Sunday there's a show that repeats and repeats and repeats. Hope you guys are not getting tired of it. I think I made a little error in my posting, and I'm glad you guys didn't catch that because I think I had put the wrong. I think it ended up being 10:30 p.m. instead of 10:30 a.m. Uh, but it's all good. You guys are here. It doesn't matter. Uh, we're gonna carry on with the show as planned. Welcome to Addicted to Gear, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. If you guys are new, welcome. If you guys are regulars, welcome again. I hope you guys have a lot of things to report today. I have a couple of things that are interesting too as well, so we're going to get to all of that in just a couple of minutes. If you guys can hear me okay and see me okay, give me a thumbs up. Please support the channel by subscribing. If you don't subscribe, you're not going to be able to chat, all right? So you have to do the subscription thing to be able to jump on the chat today and enjoy all of the fun, and it's all free. So welcome everybody. Dan's here, Wayne, Ken. I guess Wayne and Ken were the early birds. Shane is here also. Eddie, Gene, Rob, Zach, Paul, Mark is here. Vinny's World, Cool Tunes, Steven, Eddie, Presley, Davis, the Nye. All right, good. A nice full house early on in the day, which is always nice to see. So how are you guys doing? How was your week? Everybody doing well? Anything interesting to report before we get started? We have a lot of interesting things to talk about today. And a couple of interesting stories as well on my end. And we'll get to all of that in just a little bit. Can you guys hear me okay, or do I need to put a little bit louder? Maybe it's not loud enough. Is this better, guys? Is this a little bit better? I don't want to be too hot, but I don't want to be. I'm a little far from the microphone, so I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. If you can, that's great. All right, guys. So welcome to Addicted to Gear. This week I've been pretty busy doing a lot of interesting things. As you may have not noticed, I have this today. This is a brand new acquisition which I just got yesterday, and I'll tell you the whole story behind this spontaneous purchase. This is a Charvel Pro Mod, very interesting guitar, and I'll tell you why I ended up coming home with this guitar in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to say thank you for supporting the channel, everyone. The channel is really going great. A lot of great subscriptions, and it seems like it's every week there's more and more. So I really do appreciate you guys for either spreading the word or just being loyal viewers to the channel. I have a video coming out probably tomorrow if I have enough time to finish it. It's on this guy. I showed you this before. This is the NUX Diamond. This is the 63 Diamond, which is basically a Vox in a box pedal. So I wanted to do that for you guys. I wanted to do the review. It's been lurking for a while, and I finally got a little bit of time to actually shoot a video on that. So I'm hopefully I can finish that today. But I have a lot of things going on today as well. We're going to be rehearsing tonight, so I got to get all that stuff ready. I got to get my patches prepared. I got a new case for the Fractal. I don't know if you can see it back there. Fractal's back there. It's got a case, a solid case that I purchased not long ago, and I'm trying to get everything set up for that nice and snug so things don't shift around while I'm moving it. And I gotta finish all of that stuff today as well. So there's it's a packed day for me, not just guitar stuff but other things as well. Some of you have been asking about my toe, how my toe is doing. As I reported last week, I fractured my toe, and it was a painful week, I'm gonna be honest. Wasn't very comfortable walking around or hobbling around, but it seems to be the swelling is going down, and so things are getting a little bit better. I should be able to stand for the 3 hour jam tonight. The 3 hour rehearsal. If worse comes to worse, I'll grab a stool, but I don't like playing sitting down. So I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a combination of sitting and standing. If you guys have anything you want to talk about and you have any comments you want to share with the group, or you want to ask me a question specifically, put a little question mark before your question so I'll be able to see that and respond. All right, I'm just going through the comments quickly here just to see if there's anything right off the bat that we can comment on. Eddie says, morning boys, been working on a Rush analog kid solos, is killing him apparently. Those solos are very intricate. Rush had some very nice solos. Alex Lifeson has a very unique style of playing, and it's kind of like rock / fusion, but not really. So yeah, I understand how you feel, Eddie. Hang in there, buddy. Just break it up into small, manageable portions. Try not to learn the whole thing at once. It helps. One thing I can give you as advice, and this goes for everybody, is try not to learn a whole solo all in one sitting. I always feel like if you break it up into small chunks and then kind of like give it a couple of days in between, you're able to, your brain kind of works on it while you're sleeping. Sort of like the subconscious takes over and kind of figures it out for you. And when you go back to it, like the next day or a day later, a couple days later, it's kind of easier. I find it makes it easier. All right. So that's my advice for learning solos for today. That's free too. Gene says, liquid sunshine here in California, raining in San Francisco. It's raining here also, Gene. It's been raining for the last, yesterday was raining, today is raining. Really like a blah weekend, unfortunately. And with all the water we're getting, I don't know if it's that or just getting old, my knuckles are feeling like stiff. I have to do some stretching exercises, but I feel it in my hands whenever the weather is crappy, you know. Just the joints. So I'm going to have to loosen up a little bit today and practice before the jam session tonight. Going through questions here. Mark says, cheers guys, have a good show. I'm getting ready to head back to Maryland from vacation, so I can't watch live, but we'll watch later. Hey, no problem, dude. Enjoy the last day of your vacation. Hopefully the drive back will be smooth. You can watch the show later on, no issues. Thank you for dropping in. Always appreciated. Vinny says, anyone here a NAM user and going to try the dark glass anagram? Not sure what we're talking about. I'm not a NAM user, and I'm not sure what we're talking about here, but if anybody is, please help Vinny's World answer the questions. Presley, good morning, dude. How you doing? Any interesting projects happening on your end? I hope there are. I hope you have some interesting projects going on. It's always nice to see something new coming off the bench. Gene says, how's the toe? Toe's pretty good. Like I said, Gene, it's getting better every day. Swelling's going down. Pain's getting a little bit easier now. But at the beginning, it was pretty rough, man. I'm not going to lie. Hobbling around, not fun. So Zach says, I'm changing strings on my 2 acoustic guitars, so I'll just be listening for a bit. Hey, there's nothing better than doing stuff like that, Zach. That's what I like to do too when I'm working on my guitars. I put the phone on my bench and I just watch some other videos or just discussions, and I'm just listening in on the background. It's fun. It's fun. I miss doing that. I haven't done that in a while. I have to get some projects going so that I can have that pleasure again. That's my happy space, working on guitars. Paul says, I get depressed without sunshine even if I do not go out. Same here, dude. It's just blah when it's raining. Hey, Marcel, how's it going, dude? Thank you for dropping in. Paul says I had a on and off again for 3 years problem with mail theft. It cost me $200 this time. I'm not sure. I missed the beginning of that conversation. Steven says, good to hear. Hopefully you didn't sell any amps. I didn't sell any amps. Not yet. Steven, I don't know if I'm going to be selling any amps, to be honest. I'm not sure yet. There will be a spring cleaning happening soon. It is spring, after all. I'll talk about that in a minute. Presley says, I finished up 2 Les Pauls, both flame tops. Bartolini in both. Nice, dude. You gotta share some pictures. We gotta see how those turned out. Very nice. They sound really nice. Flame tops, always nice. Is that what the rubbed finish, like you were talking about last week? Gene says, picked up a Fender Player 2 on 420. Wonder what made that happen. So Gene, we'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about that in a second as well. And D. Smith says, playing my SSH Charvel as well today. Pearl White, hardtail, nice. Hey, welcome to the Charvel Club, or I should say I'm gonna be new to the Charvel Club. Well, actually not new, because I've had a Charvel in the past. I've had one, a San Dimas, in like a purple burst, dark purple burst, a while ago. You may have seen that on my earlier videos. I know I did a video on that, and you can probably see that. And I told the story of what happened with that guitar. I'll go over it again after if you want. Wayne says, love the shirt, Tony. Thanks, dude. I don't know if you... It says, for a minute there, you bored me to death. And there's the heartbeats. I like wearing that shirt every once in a while. It gets a giggle. Davis says, Tony, how do you dial out the digital fizz sound on overdriven tones on modelers? I get close, but I always seem to hear it. That's a good question, Davis. I'm glad, that's good. Let's answer that. Well, it's a combination of things. Normally, sometimes it's just a bad, it's about a bad patch, a bad sound. Sometimes it's just fizzy by nature and you can't really do much about it. But one thing I like to do whenever I'm dealing with modelers, this is the type of thing that a lot of people don't think about. Because if you're playing at home, it doesn't really come into play. I'm going to move that down a little bit. It doesn't really come into play all that often when you're playing alone, but I'm going to share a little tip. So inside most digital modelers, you have an EQ. You have the patch EQ, which means it's the EQ for the specific patch you're playing at the moment. And sometimes, depending on the modeler that you're using, it has a global EQ. If you have access to a global EQ, what you want to do is basically go into the global EQ and tailor the EQ settings to remove a lot of the lows, because usually they're set flat. The EQ is set flat, so you have like all the lows, all the highs, and it could sound good when you're playing in a room by yourself, but when you're playing with a band, that goes out the window. So what you want to do is you want to reduce the lows, and you want to specifically reduce all of the highs. There's certain frequencies you just don't need, and those, especially in the high registry of the EQ, those are the ones that end up giving you a lot of fizz. Okay, so if you cut those down and you just basically work on the mid frequencies, tailor the mid frequencies to your liking, that will help tremendously. So I would start with that. And obviously make sure that if you're playing through a modeler, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, you probably already know this, but if you're playing through a modeler, just make sure that you're not necessarily gonna, like you're playing through the correct emulation. Because sometimes you'll have the you'll have like a studio setting, you'll have a direct setting, and if you're playing through the wrong settings at the beginning, you're always gonna get that fuzz. So just make sure you're set appropriately. I'm sure you've read the manual. So that's what I would do. Start with that. Let me know how that works for you, and then after, report back. Let me know, and I'll give you some other advice if that doesn't help. But I'm sure it will make some difference. It will help you. Jeff says, I got a Charvel this week, Tony. The SoulCal. It's the first FR I've had since my old RG550. Hey, congratulations, dude. You know what? I've said it many times before that I was over the Charvel. Not over. Okay, let me rephrase that. I said many times before I was over the Floyd Rose Fever, right? Right now, I don't have that many guitars with the Floyd Rose in them. I have this one, and I have my EVH custom built striped guitar, the Frankenstrat that I built. That one has an original 80s German Floyd Rose in it. And beyond that, I don't really have any other guitars that have a Floyd Rose in it, except, well, it's not really a Floyd Rose. I do have a Harley Benton Fusion Pro that does have a locking nut and a bridge like this. It's not a real Floyd, but it does have the locking thing happening. And beyond that, I have two guitars that have like a Vega Trem that are not they don't have the locking nut. It's just a floating bridge, really nice one. So I said to myself, do I really want to go down that road again and start dealing with Floyd Roses? But I'm going to tell you the story of this guitar because this is something that I spontaneously picked up this week. So I'm not the only one on the Charvel trip, and I'll explain why that is. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I answer your questions first, okay? I just want to, before I start blabbing. Danielle says, working on just in time, going to do it in D flat to suit my voice. Had to mark up the sheet music for D flat. Had a chord melody worked out last night before going to bed. We'll see what I retained. You know, it's funny. I went to, you're going to laugh, but I went to the Sugar Shack a couple weeks back because it's a thing here that we do, you know, where there's snow in the early spring, end of spring usually. You can go and enjoy some delicious food and maple syrup and just like great stuff. And usually these places have entertainment. And the one I went to had a guitar player. He was just one fellow playing acoustic guitar and just playing songs one after another. He was like a human jukebox, basically. He had a great voice and he did a great job on beautiful songs, really nice melodies. He put together the entertainment so well. I was very impressed, man. And he wasn't like ripping any leads or solos or anything like that. He was just basically doing the song, strumming the chords. Sounded great. And I'm like, man, I can't do that. I can't sing. I can't sing for beans, you know? And, you know, it's hard enough to sing properly. And then he was singing and playing and strumming the guitar and doing it all very tastefully. I was very impressed. Young guy, and did an excellent job. So, yeah, it gave me the desire to maybe start looking at playing songs, not just like solos and leads and all that kind of stuff, but actually playing more melodically, like a whole song. You know, a lot of us will focus on the guitar parts and we'll focus on songs that are mainly guitar oriented. But he was just playing any song that was not necessarily meant for guitar, and he was playing it really well. That's my short story. Paul says, pedal of the week, Heavy Earth Flesh Rot version 2. Horrible name. Yeah, kind of seems flesh rot. VH1 40C amp on a box, $200 USD, but dead on authentic with a fat tube sound. Okay, man, I'll keep that in mind, but $200 USD, that's not cheap. I think we're going to have to start the affordable pedal of the week and expensive pedal of the week tips. Because $200 USD, that translates to a lot of dinero in Canadian funds. And if that's coming from the US, yeah, that's not going to be good. If that's coming from the US with the tariffs and all this crazy stuff, man. Have you guys noticed? I don't know if you guys have noticed at all. If you're looking at buying anything from Amazon, from Temu, from AliExpress, DHgate, all these websites that are kind of like, eBay versions, like Chinese eBay versions, prices have gone through the roof. Like you usually would be able to buy like a regular, inexpensive pedal, Donner, Joyo, all these brands that are not necessarily expensive brands. They were very affordable. Now they're not affordable anymore. The prices have gone through the roof. It's like if I'm gonna spend that kind of money on these Chinese knockoffs, I better, I could just go to a store and buy a regular, pedal. We're getting to the same prices now that all the tariff craziness is going on. Hopefully, it'll come back to normal. But right now is not the time to buy these pedals. David says, I saw the whole Squire debut line go up in price. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, I was thinking about clearing out a couple of lower end guitars for my spring cleaning, David. And I think I'm gonna do that because I'm running out of space. I really don't have any place to put guitars anymore. And I'm gonna probably end up getting rid of, I have those two Squires. Now that I have this guitar, it's kind of redundant to keep those Squires. I have those two Squire Contemporaries, the red one and the pearl one. So I think those are going to go. I've pretty much decided to get rid of my ERT or EART guitars. I have a couple of those. Those are also kind of like Strat, Super Strats, HSS configuration. Also redundant, so I don't know if I'm probably not gonna hang on to those. A couple of other guitars. I probably have like, I don't know, 6 or 7 guitars that I'm probably gonna end up trying to sell. And I gotta reevaluate all of the pricing now because the prices have gone up. So I was gonna sell them for, the prices I had in mind when I purchased them, but it seems like everything's out of whack now, so I'm gonna have to reevaluate. Searching for Tone says, hey Tony, picked up a Jackson Soloist X for $3.99 USD on Adorama. Enjoying my first Floyd. Yeah, Adorama has some interesting pricing sometimes. $3.99 is not bad for a soloist. Now, do you have those crazy inlays? Does that one have those like the lightning bolt inlays or semi triangular inlays? What kind of inlays do they have? That's the only reason I haven't actually picked up a soloist, is most of the time I can't find one with just a regular fretboard. Danielle says, my joints ache if I have too much sugar. For some reason, scotch bothers my joints. So that's it, man. That's what I've been doing wrong. Adding sugar to my scotch. You're probably right, Danielle. Sugar doesn't help anything. And I haven't really noticed. But you're probably right. Maybe if I cut out sugar. Yeah, it's real maple syrup, Stephen. Sugar on snow. It's the best thing ever, man. It's not like fake stuff. It's really like the real stuff. I don't know if you guys know anything about maple syrup, but I'm just going to tell you this, just dumb fact of the day. It takes to make like a liter of maple syrup, you need like something like 70 liters of the maple sap. It's like 70 to 1. So they have to reduce it by 70 times to be able to get that maple syrup. And it's delicious. It really is awesome. Especially when it's on snow. It's a Canadian thing. If you guys don't know, you don't know. But those of you who do know, you can appreciate it. So Marcel says, huge Temu warehouse went up in flames. I didn't hear about that. I did not hear about that. So maybe that has something to do with things. Marcel says estimated loss 56.19. $56.19. That's terrible. I'm sure it's more than $56. It's probably what's 56 million, something like that. Yeah, man. Those guys sell a lot of stuff, let me tell you. You know what's funny? I read recently, and I don't know if this is actually true or not. You guys can correct me on this. But I read an article recently that was saying that Amazon is now, if you want to return an item, like under like $10, you know, like cheap items that you buy, if you want to return them nowadays, and I don't know if this is true, you guys can confirm, Amazon is refunding your money and just making you keep the product. Because apparently it costs them more to get the product back, you know, pay for shipping back, restocking or resending it to the supplier, blah, blah, blah. It's not worth it for them. So they're like, you know what, just keep it. Here's your money back. That's new. Anybody experience that? I have experienced something like that in the past with sellers directly. Like sometimes the sellers will just say, keep it, you know, we'll refund you the money. Specifically if it's a device that has like a battery in it, because there's special paperwork that needs to be filled out. Usually the sender needs to fill it out to get to the destination. And then if you're returning it back, it's hard for you to do the paperwork. So they're like, forget it. Don't even like send it back. So if you're, you know, ordering like battery chargers, you know, for your phone, stuff like that, sometimes they'll just say, keep it. Now, I'm not saying you got to go out there and just buy a whole bunch of stuff and then try and return it to get it free. I'm not saying that. But, you know, this is the news. And I also wanted to just talk about something that kind of bothered me a little bit yesterday while I was at the local store, the music store. I'll tell you that story in a second. David says, did they have ham and beans? Bacon, yeah, for sure. Ham, yeah, beans, all that good stuff, David. Yeah, for sure, man. You come out of there, you roll out of there. You know, you want to get your money's worth. Paul says, let's see here. Paul says, if I can put that on the screen here, AliExpress is direct from China with 0 tariffs. In Canada, still good deals from $25 to $100 on this desirable pedals. Canada has no tariffs under $600. That might be the case, Paul, but the prices are not the same anymore. I'm telling you, I've been looking at the prices, and they're going up. So I don't know what's going on, but Marcel says it's a joke. So the $56 is a joke. I assumed it was, Marcel. I'm thinking like closer to 56 million or 56 billion or whatever these guys are. They're slinging a lot of products. Max says they will not worry. The insurance will pay back, and they have 1.000 plus other warehouses, 1,000 plus. Well, the actual story, and this is like the sad part of all of this, something that I learned recently, which was very scary actually, because you know how much product goes through Amazon, right? Worldwide, it's crazy. I learned recently that a lot of times when Amazon gets returns back, they'll just destroy them. They'll throw them away. They won't even ship them back to the people that sent it to them. They'll throw them in landfills. It's cheaper for them to throw them away than to give them away or, you know, sell them for cheaper as open boxes or whatever. They'll just throw them away. And this is something that I couldn't believe is actually happening, but it is. And there were some employees from Amazon up in arms about all of this. And what they were doing was they were arguing and they were coming together as a group saying like, we're going to quit if you guys don't change this. And they really didn't care. The only time they actually cared was when they were going public with it and they were going to go to the newspapers. And it's funny because just before, the day before this was going to hit the newspapers, Amazon came out with a policy to go green, basically, to kind of just squash that whole story so people wouldn't pay attention to it. But I'm sure it's still happening. Anyway, enough about Amazon. I'm not here to bash Amazon. Let's talk about guitars. Max says Thomann in Germany is still keeping their old guitar and gear prices. Free delivery for me in EU. In EU, yes. I don't think that applies to other places though, Max. Canada and the US, I think the prices are different. David says maybe Canadian stock goes through a U.S. warehouse at some point. Yeah, that's the key. If it goes through the U.S. to get to Canada, you're gonna be hit with those tariffs. Anyways, I don't even want to talk about tariffs anymore. I get a headache every time I think about it. Max says returned items usually get resold as loose boxes for whoever wants to pay for them in weight, not what's inside the boxes. I know they used to do that, Max. You used to be able to buy like a mystery box. You pay a certain amount of money. They just throw a whole bunch of products in a box and ship it to you, and you don't know what you're gonna get. I'm not sure they're still doing that though. I know that used to be a thing before, and now it's, I don't know. I don't know if this is still happening. I know there was a lot of YouTubers that would buy these boxes and then open them up and just see what's inside, like an unboxing thing, you know, kind of like a giant piñata. Presley says, I'm still able to get my kits at the same price, but I'm ordering them one at a time. Each is under $800, so I haven't been directly impacted yet. I sent you an email with some LP build pictures. Okay, cool. Thank you, man. Did you send that on... let me see if I can... Yeah, there they are. Here they are. Oh, cool, man. Very cool. Hey, can I share these pictures, Presley? Can I share these with the boys, or do you mind? If you say yes, I'll share them. I'll show the boys your excellent work. Very nice. David says, how about the new hardtail EVH guitars? Yeah, I saw those. I'm not a big fan of the hardtails. I like the styling. I used to have a Wolfgang at one point, Stealth Wolfgang, really cool guitar, and that one had a Floyd on it. I don't know. To me, the hardtails, it's like they have to be on a Les Paul. I don't know. It's just I can't get around the hardtail thing on an EVH guitar. Searching for Tone says we have Amazon going around now. Drop it off, walk around the house after taking delivery pictures and grabbing the box. We have Amazon going around now. Drop it off, walk around the house after taking delivery pictures and grabbing the box. I don't understand. Can you just repeat that, Searching for Tone? Presley says it's okay to share. All right, I'm going to share then. Thanks, man. Sharing is caring, exactly. All right, let me just do this then. Hold on a sec. Give me one quick minute. I'm just trying to get this on the screen at the right size. And where's my controller? Okay, there we go. So let me see if you can see this, boys. Can you see that? Headstock. Oh, let me just take this message off the screen. Here we go. Presley. Nice, dude. Let me just zoom out for you guys. Can you see that? Very cool looking headstock there. I like the shape. I like your decals too, man. So this must be a hand rubbed version because it looks, I can tell that it's not like super glossy. So I'm thinking it's a hand rubbed finish. Nice tuners as well. Very nice. Did you install the nut as well on this guitar? Looks like the slots are nicely cut. Looks cool. And I like the truss rod cover too. Very cool. California. Nice, dude. Good job. I'm gonna share another one with you here. Just give me a sec. There's a few other pictures, so I'm gonna share it. I like this shot. This shot is very dramatic. Look at that. So Presley, tell us how you do the staining. Are you using leather dyes, hand rub leather dyes? What are you just using straight finishes? What are you doing with those finishes? I like them. Very nice. It's you have a nice grain on these. I like the one on the right in this picture. It looks like the flame is a little bit more defined. Is that I'm assuming it's just a veneer. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nice looking guitars, man. Good job. I'm gonna go to the next one here. And let's see here, we got another shot. I'm gonna share that one. Get a nice butt view, I call it, of the guitar. Look good, man. Nice, nice. I have a kit that's waiting to be built as well. It's a Les Paul kit, and I haven't gotten around to it. Eventually I will. I just don't have time these days. But maybe I'll keep that for winter again. So Presley says, the Kita dye, sand it back before the oil and the wax. I tried those Kita dyes. I tried them, and I had better luck with straight leather dyes. The Kita dye didn't go into the finish as much, I found, for whatever reason. I don't know. I got the powders, you know, didn't get the pre-mix stuff, and it didn't go into the finish as deep. What I like to do, and I don't know if you've tried this, Presley, is go with let's say you're doing a flame like that. Go with a brown or a black, you know, something dark first, then sand it back almost completely, you know, so that there's just a little bit left in the grain, and then apply the color. So if you want to go with an actual color, apply it on top. It really makes the grain pop more. I had a lot of success with that. But I don't do the hand rub finishes. I usually I spray lacquer and then I buff it by hand. Usually comes out pretty good. But I've had a lot of mishaps with the veneers because they're so thin, man. You know, if you work with veneers, you know what I'm talking about. They're so thin, it's easy to blow through. I had a 335 I was doing. It was a kit like that. It was coming out beautifully. Of course, the little humps went a little bit too deep with the sandpaper and blew through the finish. I still have the guitar. It's hanging in my garage. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is just give it a solid color just to hide it. Go with that. Just never got around to it. I'll do that eventually. But yeah, man, nice job, dude. Very cool. Let's see here. I'll do one more. I'll show you the back. Look at this. That's a nice back. And I like your custom covers on the top. Very, very cool. Nice. So guys, if anybody out there is looking for a very nicely built guitar, why don't you speak to Presley here, man? He does great work, it looks like. Something that anybody would be proud of owning. And from what I understand, the prices are right. Yeah, veneers are tricky. Very tricky, man. You don't know how thin those things are, but they're usually paper thin. So you got to really build up. What I like to do is I build up quite a few layers of lacquer and lacquer is super thin because it melts back into the previous layer. So let's say you shoot, I don't know, 10 coats. Well, every coat that you put in absorbs into the previous coat, so it takes a long time. Not as easy to work with. Like poly's a lot easier, I find, because you can build it up thicker, and you don't have to worry about going through the veneer as much. So Presley says, Geiger hardware is nice. I mixed the Kita dye with 91% alcohol so it goes deeper into the grain and is a little easier to work with. I do that too. I usually use alcohol as well instead of water when I use those, but it didn't help. Maybe I just didn't mix it enough. I don't know. Maybe I got the proportions wrong. You know. So Presley says $940 plus shipping, comes with a hard shell case. Hey, at least somebody's still including hard shell cases. That's something else that miffed me the other day. I'm going to tell you that story in a second. So yeah, if anybody's interested, give Presley a shout. He's reachable here. Hey Mazzetti, what's going on? We're just looking at some nice guitars that Presley was kind enough to share with everybody. His custom built guitars. David has a good question. He says, will any accelerant make dye go deeper into the grain? I don't know. I don't really think so. I don't think it makes much of a difference. The good thing about using alcohol is it dries quicker. So it doesn't like sit there on the veneer. Because remember, the veneer is very thin and it's easy to damage. And if it gets wet and stuff like that, you don't want it to stay wet for too long. So the alcohol dissipates quicker. If you're not using a veneer, you don't really have to worry about it as much. And I like to wet the body of the guitar generally, if it's not a veneer, to raise the grain. So when I sand it back, it gives it a better sand job. It just raises the grain enough. You let it dry and then you sand it down again. Makes a pretty nice finish. Stuart says, I want a Les Paul Special Swamp Ash body and maple neck. Well, Stuart, talk to Presley, man. He can make it happen for sure. And Presley says, I appreciate you, Tony. Hey, man, thank you, dude. Goes both ways, man. Appreciate you too, man. It's always great to have people sharing what they do. If you got a talent and you can share it, make other people happy, that makes it all worthwhile, you know? All right, cool. So let me tell you my story before we get... wait a minute. There's a question here. Your questions come first. My blah blah comes second. Mazzetti had a question. He says, help solve an issue. Bought a Tokai springy sound with a serial number L06095. Need to determine what year it is. Okay, let me see if I can help out with that. Not always easy to determine the year of these models, especially stuff like Tokais. It's not always easy. I know that it's tricky. Here, let me just see if I can do a quick little search for you while we're here. I can't guarantee, but give me 1 sec. L06095. Let's see if I can find it. Hey, thanks for reminding everybody to hit the like button. Please do, if you don't mind, while we're looking here. Okay, so this is what I found, okay? For what it's worth, it says the Tokai guitar with the serial number L06095 was manufactured in 1984. It says Tokai serial number system for their Fender style models, such as the Gold Star Sound and the Breezy Sound series, and it probably includes yours. Often includes a prefix letters followed by a 5-digit number. In this case, the L prefix followed by the 06095 aligns with the serial number format used in 1984. And it does say it's worth noting that Tokai serial numbers can sometimes be challenging to interpret due to variations over the years and between different models. For a more precise identification, including model specifications and product details, consulting the Tokai Guitar Registry or reach out to Tokai enthusiast forums can provide additional insights. Does that sound right to you? 1984? Let me know if that sounds right. Okay, so here, let me go to my story, okay? So I'm going to tell you the story about this guitar. This, like I had mentioned at the beginning, this is a brand new guitar. I ended up buying this yesterday. I didn't intend on buying this guitar at all. I didn't even want to go, I didn't even plan to go to the store. So this is what happened. I'm going through, Mazzetti says 1984 is what I got. The seller says 82. It's probably an 84, according to my info. All right? I think it's safe for you to say 80, 84. Early 80s. Just say early 80s. All right. So I ended up, I'll tell you the story about this guitar. I ended up playing a game with some friends, Exploding Cats or Exploding Kittens. You know that game? Anyways, I liked the game, so I ended up buying the game. So I ended up buying the game through a seller that was just selling it. It was used or whatever. I ended up paying $15 for it, right? So I ended up driving out yesterday morning to go and get this game. So I ended up pulling up to this person's house to pick up the game. And as luck had it, this was not planned. I honestly, I believe you. I'm being honest, hand on the Bible. Didn't plan this to happen, but it was literally two blocks, maybe 3 blocks from my local Long and McQuaid. So I figured, you know what? I got some time to kill this morning. I'm going to pick up the game. I'm going to drive over to Long and McQuaid. Going to take a look at whatever they got there, just out of curiosity. And I needed a TRS cable. So I figured I'm going to pick up a TRS cable. It's not illegal, Rico. I'm telling you, it's not illegal at all. Everything in my story is legal. And Rico, yes, it is floating. You can the Floyd, you can pull back and dive bomb it on both sides. Yeah. So I went to the local Long and McQuaid, pulled in, and it was quite busy. Actually, there's a lot of people there. I figured I'd take a quick look around. They always get new stuff, and pick up this cable. So as I was looking around, my main intention was to be able to check out the Fender Player 2s, which are very similar to this. The Fender Player 2s that are out nowadays, and I talked about this last week, how I was interested in those, look like this. Basically, it's very, very similar to what I have. It has 2 single coils, it has the Floyd, it has the humbucker, but it's expensive. It's $1,629 before taxes, right? So I ended up wanting to see this. They didn't have a Floyd Rose model on the showroom. Okay, they only had the regular bridges, and I wanted the model with the Floyd. So I wasn't able to try it out. So I said, you know what, forget it. As I like to say, things happen for a reason. If they don't have it, it's not for me, right? So as luck may have it, I was looking at what they had there. And by the way, they also have some Suhr guitars now. They had, I think, 2 or maybe 3 Suhr guitars, which is new because they usually don't carry those Suhr guitars. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So anyway, long story short, I'm looking around and I didn't spot this one right away because it wasn't on the wall. It was on a rack. So I'm like walking around, looking around. I was about to leave, and I brought my TRS cable to the counter, gave it to the girl that was there. Like, I want to buy this. And I saw this. I saw this one sitting there on the little rack facing me. So I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What's this? There was no price on it. So I thought it was a used model. So I said, let me let me ask. You never know, right? They could have some good pricing on these things sometimes when they're used, and it looked brand new. It still had the plastic on the pick guard and everything. So I'm like, if it is used, it looks mint, right? So I asked the girl. She's like, no, not it's not used. It's actually new. There was no price on it, so she gives me the price. The price is cheaper than the Player 2. And I'm looking at this guitar and I'm like, well, basically, I'm getting the same features on this guitar. Actually, in my opinion, slightly better features, and I'm going to explain why. One of the things that the Player has that this one doesn't is the noiseless pickups. I'm not a huge fan of noiseless pickups, and I've said this before. And maybe these new versions will convince me, but in the past, never really bonded with these noiseless pickups. So these pickups are not noiseless. They're DiMarzio pickups, and they're actually very high output. I'll explain all of that in a second. So when I looked at the price, I'm like, the Player 2 is at least $250 more expensive. It's got basically the same features. It's got the Floyd, and then actually this one has the Floyd 1000, while the Fender has the Floyd Special. Now, if you guys don't know the difference, just by looking at it, it looks basically the same, but they're not the same. There's a big difference between the Floyd 1000 and the Floyd Special. So the Floyds, if you want to know how they work, the German-made Floyds, which you can't buy necessarily on a guitar, you have to buy straight from Floyd Rose, are the most expensive ones and the best ones. The reason why is because they're the original. The metal that they use on those bridges are way better than what you get on the specials. Okay, so if you're looking at that and you're looking at trying to get a good quality bridge, you want to stay away from the specials. And you want to go with a Floyd, a German-made Floyd, or you want to go with a Floyd that is at least the 1000 series. That's one of the major differences. So the Floyds that are made in Germany, they're made at the Schaller factory. They use hardened steel. That's the main difference. It's high quality hardened steel. Or brass, depending on the model. And the knife edges that are used on the posts are very, very hard. They're durable. They have a really long life. You just get better tuning stability out of them. Tight tolerances, smooth action, great playability. It's the highest version. It's like the gold standard when it comes to Floyd Roses. The Floyd Rose 1000 series is an OEM version. It's licensed under Floyd Rose, but it's probably, I think they're made in Korea. They also use hardened steel, similar to the original ones. They vary a little bit. They also use steel or brass, depending on the model, like the original. Very good knife edges. Maybe not as indestructible as the German-made ones, but still very good. Build quality is excellent. Feels almost identical to the German ones for most players. It's a little bit cheaper, so it's basically a step down. And then you have the Floyd Rose Special. This one is all over the place because usually they're made in Asia, mostly Indonesia and China and other places. They usually use cheaper metal. So they use zinc-based saddles. The metal there's a lot of variations in terms of what they use, but the zinc is not really great. And it's softer. The knife edges are softer. They wear out faster. A lot of times you see dents in the knife edges. So they're a lot cheaper, but it's like a budget Floyd Rose. I've had guitars with these on them, and I don't like them. And that's probably the reason why in the past, when I've had a guitar that had a Floyd in them, I didn't like them, right? So that's one thing that I noticed between this model and the Fender Player 2. They both have Adler bodies. This one has instead of being rosewood on the fretboard, it's ebony, which is nice and dark and it has a really thick slab. Like if you look at the slab on this thing, look how thick this thing is. Can you see? I don't know if you can see it, but it's way thicker than what I'm seeing on the Fender models, which I like a lot. Yeah, Eddie, exactly, man. This is what I said. You're paying 1,600 before taxes on a Fender, and it's got a Floyd Rhodes special on it. So that's to me that was a deal breaker. And the noiseless pickups, like although the noiseless pickups could be good, for recording purposes, I'm not a big fan of the noiseless pickups. I don't really need that. And also the Fender has the push-pull pot to split the humbucker into a single. And again, I don't really use that. I always find that it's a little anemic when I split the humbuckers, right? So I don't really feel like that would have been a good thing to have. Going to 2 knobs as opposed to 3 knobs, not a big deal for me. Actually, it's out of the way a little bit more if you only have 2 knobs. And the cool thing about this one is the switching. Now the switching, and I'm not gonna do a full review on this thing, right? Because that's gonna come in a video. I'll give you sound samples and everything. But the switching on this guitar is quite unique because the Fender doesn't do this. Everything, all of the switches, all of the different positions are humbucking. Not to say that the single coils are stacked. They're not stacked humbuckers. The way it works is this. So you have the down position is the humbucker here. The next position up is this coil of the humbucker and this, the middle. So it's actually technically humbucking, even though they're separate. The next one over is this pickup here and this pickup. So you're skipping the middle and you're going to the 2 furthest pickups. Next one over, you're getting the middle and the neck pickup as humbuckers. And then finally, this one is the neck alone. So you really only have one position in this guitar where the pickups are not humbuckers, right? So that's cool. I like that a lot. Now, I wasn't sold on the pickups on this guitar. They are Seymour Duncans, but they're high output Seymour Duncans. So that's like the difference between this and the Fender. I think the Fender is more like standard Fendery tones. Like it's not going to go crazy. I don't know what the output is on the humbuckers in the Fender. Not really sure. I would have to check that. But these guys, they're high output. This is probably the highest output pickup I have on any guitar. The single coils here, they're SSLs, which are Seymour Duncans, which basically gives you a more beefy Strat tone with more output. And this one is the SSL2. Sorry, no, this is the SSL2. This is the SSL. So basically, there's a difference between this and the other one. The output on the bridge here is almost 17, and the single coils are like 13. So it's a hot sounding set of pickups on this guitar, which is cool. I don't have a guitar like that, so it wouldn't necessarily be something that would be redundant. And if I always, if I don't get along with the pickups, I can always switch them out. Not a big deal there. You know what I mean? So, and of course, the color. Yeah, Jason, when I saw the color, I'm like, Ferrari red and black. That's like, to me, that's the kryptonite for an Italian, man. You show a beautiful Ferrari red color, black and red, that's the color, And to be honest, although I like the pearl on the Player's Special, I do like the pearl color. That's the only color that they had. So it was like pearl or nothing. I do like the combination of pearl and the tortoise shell. I think it looks really sexy. And the fact that the pickups on the Fender Player has the white knobs. I do think the look very nice on that guitar. If I had to choose one, it would be that one. Although I still feel like this is more 80s. This is more like rock and roll, you know. This one means business as opposed to the Fender that's a little bit more Fendery, you know. So I think I made the right choice. Now the thing is, I still have a 30-day window. If I want to return it, I can. I'm thinking about, you know, playing it, but as soon as I played this guitar, it really just spoke to me. The neck on this guitar is wonderful. It feels so good. It's not, doesn't have any poly in the back. This is another thing. I don't know if the Fenders are poly finished. These are hand rubbed, so that makes a huge difference in the feel. Anyway, guys, I'm not gonna like go on and on about this guitar. I just wanted to give you some of the insights. I'll do a full review on the guitar. So Boomerang wanted to see the back of the neck. There you go. There's no skunk stripe on this one. You know, very comfortable neck, jumbo frets, rolled edges, just feels great. So I tried it, and immediately I'm like, yeah, this thing's coming home. There was only one. I don't think they have many of these, and I've rarely seen the model with the Floyd and the single and two singles and the humbuckers in the store, especially in red. They always have these weird colors. So I'm like, yeah, I'm taking it home. Saint Brando says, best fix for FR specials, install the titanium parts. Yeah, eventually I might do that. If I see that there's problems, I'll go to FU Tone and get the titanium parts. But, you know, this is a 1000 bridge, which is usually better quality than the specials. So, you know, for right now, I don't think I need to change that. Max says titanium is too expensive. Just swap for stainless steel screws and string blocks and you should be good to go. Again, if things start getting wonky, then I'll do that. But for the time being, I've been playing it non-stop and it... That's the neck. That's the bridge. The other thing I almost forgot, there's no load pots on this. So in the tone position, if the tone is all the way up, the tone is out of the circuit and it becomes a lot brighter. If you just roll it down a little bit, you can feel a little click and it'll darken up. Does it have the zero bypass tone knob? Yeah, that's what it's exactly what I just said, Rico. I beat you to it. My fingers, I don't want to move today. I'm telling you, man. Yeah, Max, I agree. If it's a FR1000 series, it should be good to use for the next 10 years. Then you can swap the parts for it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just see how it goes. But I'm a happy camper, man. So now the thing is, this guitar now is gonna sort of, you know, force me to get rid of a lot of other guitars, and that's something I wanted to kind of talk about. But you know, enough about me. I wanted to also share some information about what you guys are doing. But Mark here says, I just discovered blender wiring for Strat. Sacrificing one of your tone pots for a blender pot, it allows you to blend the neck pickup with the bridge. I have my Strat, the SRV style Strat that I have there does that. And it's a really cool feature. By the way, wait, Max is saying... Charvel Pro Mod SoCal HSS FRD. Yeah, the Pro Mod is different. Pro Mod SoCal is this one. The one I had previously, it was the San Dimas, which had 2 humbuckers. That one I liked a little bit less. Boomerang says, I was looking at a Charvel Pro Mod San Dimas SD1 in Phelan Green earlier today. I like the color you pick, the color and pickguard on Tony's new one. It looks like a sports car. You know, that's why I like it. It's like, and it doesn't have the, you know, like some of the new ones have the cut, and it has like the Strat style input or output jack. This one doesn't have it. It's just a regular output here in the bottom. And it's not that heavy. It feels nice. Rico says, I have a similar guitar, HH in slime green. Love Charvels. Yeah, Rico, those are slime green. That's like the Steve Vai model, right? Slime green. There's only a couple of guitars that can get away with the slime green, and I think the Charvels are one of them. Anyways, I'm going to be taking this guitar with me tonight for the rehearsal. So I'm hoping it's going to fly right. The only issue with Floyd's is that if you're doing any kind of detuning, and we are, you need 2 guitars. Because it's, you know, you got to mess around with stuff. So we'll see how that flies. But that's one of the disadvantages with Floyd Rose guitars. Mind you, I'll bring the Fractal, and the Fractal does have a patch where I can go down a semitone and just by simulated semitone downwards. John says the red and black. It looks like a Strat cosplaying as an RG. I know it does. You're right. I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right, John. Cushman says, how many guitars do you have? You're asking this question to Gene or to me? I'm not sure. Boomerang says, are those US made, Tony? They're not. If you want a US made Charvel, you're going to be paying like $4,000 for it. This is, it's made in Mexico. This is a Mexican model. They're pretty much mostly being made in Mexico right now. D-Max says, how does the Charvel shape compare to the Player? Almost the same. To be honest, it's a Strat. If you put them side by side, the shape is the same. You know, you take a look at this and take a look at this. I mean, look at that. Look at that. It's pretty much the same. Same Brando says, keeping a FR in top condition, don't play with the tuning. Yeah, I know. You don't want to open and close this too much, you know, and like loosen things up. And yeah, once it's in tune and in balance, the less you play around with it, the better it is. D-Max has meant the neck shape. Oh yeah, the neck shape. The Fender Player is a C-shaped neck. This is also a C-shaped neck, but this neck to me feels more comfortable than the Fender. The Fender's more typically Fender. This one's more a little bit faster in terms of it's ever so slightly less deep front to back, but not like, it's not like a wizard neck, which like you feel like you're holding, something like extremely thin. It's very comfortable. And I had to do a double take because when I felt this neck, it felt really close to the neck on my Sur. And that, to me, the Sur neck is like the best neck I've ever played. And it's very, very close to that neck. Actually, I'm going to have to take them both side by side later on and just play them and see. But really, really nice. So, Paul says that the Long and McQuaid got the Sur when they took over Cosmo. Is that right? Okay, so I'm glad they have them, but I looked at them. They were way up high, like you need their longest ladder to get to them because they don't like people touching those guitars, and they were over $4,000. And I'm like, they're really nice guitars. I'm glad I have one. I'm glad I got one when I did. And I didn't pay it $4,000 because I got it in a trade, and I think I ended up with the best. Over time, I actually traded my Lone Star Special Mesa Boogie for it, and at the time, I had purchased a Lone Star for like I think it was $1,000 or something like that. I ended up trading that for the guitar, and was a tit for tat trade. No money exchanged. Got the guitar. And just keep on seeing the price of the guitar go up and up and up. And now they're up to like $4,000, which is ridiculous for a guitar. To be honest, like I don't think I'd be able to afford a Sur guitar today. For what it is, there's a lot of other guitars that come close at like way, way, way less money. So if you want to get a good guitar, you don't have to necessarily spend that kind of dough. The thing is, Sur does make really good guitars. They stand by their instruments. You're going to have lifetime warranty. You're not going to have any issues. But to be honest with you, I don't really have issues with any of my guitars. So the lifetime guarantee thing is great to have. But like, what does it really mean if you don't have issues with your guitar? You know what I mean? The finishes are outstanding. The woods are great. Solid all-around guitar. I can't say anything bad about the Sur instruments. I just don't know how they keep on selling them because there's so much competition out there now that are very similar. They're offering the same appointments. You're looking at the Ibanez guitars. They do it. Heck, even like the ERT guitars. They're very similar when you look at them to the Sur guitars. So it's like you're getting a guitar. Even the Ibanez, mind you, to be fair, I tried the Ibanez guitar at Long and McQuaid when I was there because I had to. I said, let me just take a look at this guitar. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't like it. It looked good, and it's this model here that I tried. The AZ Standard 6-string, okay? And these guitars are selling for, I think they're selling for like $700 or something. Yeah, $799. They look great. They look like a Sur guitar, but they don't feel like a Sur guitar. When I picked it up, it took me like 2 seconds and I put it right back. It felt cheap. It just felt cheap. Even for $799, I wouldn't buy it. It didn't feel solid as a guitar. So, there's a reason why some of the guitars out there are very expensive. Gene says, my ERT Telecaster has the best feeling neck I've played. They do have really nice necks. I got one right here. You don't see it, but it's right beside me here. It's going to have to be one of the guitars I end up selling now, though, because it's a little redundant, unfortunately. So here's the thing that got me a little bit upset. So, I bought this guitar, and, it's not an inexpensive purchase. I would have normally bought a guitar like this used, but you don't see these guitars popping up on the used market ever. I've been keeping my eye open for Charvels, and, you'll see the San Dimas ones, but these ones not as much, especially with these appointments on it. So I ended up just biting the bullet and said, I'm just going to buy it. Okay. Now, the thing that pissed me off is like they don't give you a case. They don't give you even a gig bag. Nothing. I mean, they didn't even throw in any tools, which is weird. Like at least tools to adjust to open this up. I mean, come on, don't be cheap, you know. I asked the salesperson there, and they're like, no, we don't give cases with. I'm like, you're spending almost 2 G's on a guitar. You're not gonna throw in a case. I mean, come on, you know. It's like, what happened with that? You know. Anyways, so I was a little disappointed. And the other thing is like, what I never understood is like, if you want to get a discount, like I asked for a discount. I said, you know, can I get like something off the price? You know, she's like, no, we don't do that. You know, it's like you would have to speak to the manager, blah, blah, blah. I was in a rush. I didn't have time. I didn't want to bother with that. But here's the thing. I mean, there's a loophole in this whole story. Like if you buy this guitar and you have a 30-day window to try it out, if you take this guitar and you bring it back and you say, look, you know what? I don't like it. Give me my money back. They're going to give you your money back, right? Now, they're going to have to discount the guitar, right? They're going to have to knock off, what, $200 off the price, something. They're going to put it right back on the wall as a used item. You just get your friend to go back in and buy it off, you know, and get $200 off, you know. Now, I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying, like, you know, it doesn't make sense, you know. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to vent my frustrations that, you know, they don't at least throw in, like, if you buy a guitar over $1,000, you should automatically get a case with it. Automatically, you know. That's the least they can do. They offered me a setup, you know, okay. I bought another guitar and they gave me a setup on that guitar. I never ended up using it. I'm probably not going to use this one either because I do my own setups, you know. So what are they going to do? I'm going to bring it in there. They're going to, you know, turn a couple of screws and say, here, we did a setup. You know, they're not going to do anything. Luckily, Max, I got my own tools. I don't need them. And anyways, that's another story. But it seems weird, you know. Yeah, they probably lost the tools. You know, give me a cable, give me something, give me a strap, you know, make me happy. If you're not going to throw in a case, do something, you know. Same Brando, I agree with you, man. You know, at least a bag, you know, something. I got a box, and it was not even a Charvel box. Anyway, Orion, you didn't hear it from me, and I don't condone anything illegal, all right? So, just saying. Kevin says, my Yamaha Pacifica was buzzing on frets by the neck and I put up with it, finally adjusted the truss rod, and it's perfect to me, and I love the neck. Good. Awesome. Usually those Yamaha Pacificas are really like solid guitars. I don't see many people having issues with any of those guitars. They're selling like hotcakes. So you shouldn't have any issues. Paul says the American company, an American company own the rights to make. Okay, I think maybe you mistyped. An American company now own the rights to make the Schaller, and no Zero Floyds are made in Germany. The same company now sells the 1000 to the public, available now. Okay, I had to kind of edit as I was reading, so I think I got what you were trying to say. Maybe you're typing too quickly, or maybe you're using text to speech or something. It always goes wonky on me whenever I use that. I don't know. Guys, please give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. We have 71 people here today. 44 thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Also, while I was in the shop, since I was there, I tried the Black Star, the HT43. 43 meaning Mark 3, not 43. I was actually impressed. You know, I hadn't tried that amplifier. They had the HT20 version 3 and HD40 version 3. Man, they threw everything into that amplifier. Everything but the kitchen sink. It's got like everything. But I was playing it because I wanted to try something that had a little bit of gain to it. And I was using that one. Playing at very low volumes, mind you. But I had a really nice clean. And I had a really nice... The drive channel seemed pretty good on that amplifier. And I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. I wasn't expecting to like that amplifier. I just took it because it was tried it because it was the closest one to me. Initially, they plugged me into a Fender Twin or something, which is great for like squeaky cleans. But I wanted to try something that had a little bit of dirt, And I plugged into that, and I'm like, wow, I could like this amplifier. I might have to check it out in more detail, see what it's all about. D. Smith said, sadly, you only get a gig bag if you pay $1,500 or more these days. Dude, I didn't even get that. Anyway. So that's my story. That's what I went through yesterday, and that's the reason why I ended up picking up with this guitar. And like I always say, if a guitar is meant to be, it's meant to be. This was like a lightning bolt purchase decision. I didn't necessarily walk in with the idea of buying this guitar or even seeing this guitar. I didn't even know they had this guitar, but it just happened. And my brain goes into Rain Man mode. Just like idiot savant mode, where I'm doing all the math in my head and I'm like, this guitar has this feature, this guitar has this feature, this bridge, this pickup, this is the price, this is the comparisons. Do all the calculations at the end. Bing, this one's the better deal. I walked out with this one. So I won't be getting the Fender. I don't think I'm going to regret it. I think it's going to be fine by me. And I have other Fenders behind me, so a regular Fender will always be there to scratch the itch, and this one will be there to scratch my 80s itch. So we were talking about the 80s last week and how, to me, the 80s were the best time, and it's kind of bringing back those memories. And I think I'm willing to give the Floyd another try, especially since it's a higher end model right now. Paul says, Tony, the same Charvel guitar comes in a white without the pickguard. Long and McQuaid sells that too. Yeah, I know that they have them. They didn't have any in the store. That's the thing about Long and McQuaid. They rarely have stuff in the store. They have them. You can order them, but you got to wait. So I like to try stuff before. If I can't play it, I'm not going to buy it. And the white is not for me. I prefer the red and black. D-Max says, I like those Black Stars, very versatile, sound great and easy to dial in. Yeah. The only thing about Black Stars is that they're not easy to fix, especially the new versions that have all the bells and whistles. There's a lot of stuff within those circuit boards. If something busts, you're not going to be able to fix it. That's the only thing. Orion says, the gear gods guided you. Yes, indeed. It was meant to be. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. Max, you will see a demo of the red guitar. Yes, that's good. That's coming up for sure as soon as I can. Boomerang says, what you chose, I think, is the better choice. I think so too, Boomerang. I mean, same alder body. I like the, I like rosewood, but ebony is really cool. I have to say the ebony stands out. Larger frets, rolled edges, all the goodies. I'll go through all of that stuff in the review. There'll be a lot to talk about. And William says Vola gives you a case at $1,000. Yeah, that's the thing. Anyways, don't get me started. Tony, remove the pickguard. I want to see the interior routing. I will do that. I'll do that on the review, okay? I know why you're asking that, Max. I thought the same thing. I know why you're asking. You know why? Let me guess. Because you want to see if you can put in 2 humbuckers. I thought the same thing. If ever I get tired of the HSS configuration, take off the pickguard, throw in a 2 humbucker configuration, and voila. You're in business. Right? Am I right or am I wrong? Is that okay for the dive bomb, Orion? And you want to see the neck pocket too, okay? Well, I'm going to have to take the guitar completely apart. Gene says Presley gives you a case at $950, so you're getting a better deal. You see what I mean? These big companies are becoming cheapskates, man. I'm telling you. Thanks, William. Yeah, that's why I bought it. I'm not gonna lie. The look has had a big part in the buying decision on this guitar. It just it looks so awesome. I couldn't refuse. Should we talk about the poll question, guys? How long have I been talking? An hour and a half. Yeah, let's go to the poll question before I forget. The poll question this week was a little tongue in cheek. I kind of did a throwback to my toe situation because I mentioned in the poll question the fact that I kind of threw in a little tie-in to the toe. So let me get to that question. Yeah, I swear YouTube makes it harder and harder every time to get to the poll questions. I don't know why it is, but it's they just make it so silly. All right. So this week's poll question was very simple. What is more painful? Is it a broken toe? Is it selling a beloved amp? Is it realizing you bought the wrong pedal? Or is it running out of Velcro mid pedalboard build? So these are all things that I kind of had to deal with this week. So we had 165 votes. The number one answer in this week's poll question was 48% of you said selling a beloved amp is more painful than a broken toe. Having experienced both, I'm going to say the toe is a little bit more painful, but I guess it depends on the amp. You might be right. If you have a beloved amp and you have to get rid of it, it always hurts. You're always giving it away reluctantly, hoping you made the right decision. And if you're like me, you're always going to get seller's remorse. It's the funniest thing. You're like, okay, I'm selling this or I'm selling that. You don't think twice about it. And then when somebody contacts you to say, hey, I want it. Can we make a deal? Then you're like, man, should I sell it? Maybe I'm making the wrong decision. And you start second guessing yourself. So I know it's not an easy thing. So 48% of you said selling a beloved amp. 30% of you said a broken toe. So if you guys know what a broken toe feels like, I tend to agree. 13% of you said realizing you bought the wrong pedal. That happens more often than the other things on these lists. I think I've often purchased pedals and regretted it and said to myself, why did I even bother? As a matter of fact, when I went to Long and McQuaid, one of the reasons I wanted to go before I saw the guitar, I didn't realize that was going to be a guitar thing. I wanted to check out the Behringer pedals one more time, but you know what I decided? I'm not buying any of them. The reason why I originally was stoked by the Behringer stuff, the fuzz primarily, and then the clone that they came out with and stuff, and also the Univibe. But after watching some videos, I'm like, I watched a bunch of videos, and the last one was the Andertons one, where they were playing through the fuzz, and I'm like, it doesn't actually sound that good. Like, it sounds like the original. It does sound like the original, so if you're after that sound, great. But then I realized, like, when am I going to use that sound? I don't think I'm ever going to use that sound. So I'm like, why do I want to spend $120 plus tax to get a Behringer pedal that I'm probably going to be able to get used soon anyways for like half the price? I'm not going to buy it. Then, I wanted to buy I had intended to buy the clone before I ended up getting the Seriatone version. So I got those bases covered. I don't need that anymore. And I also have a Univibe already, so I don't really need another Univibe. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to buy any of those things. And I'm just going to like enjoy the stuff that I already have and stop, time to like get rid of a few things instead of bringing stuff in. So now I'm in liquidation mode, not liquidation per se, but I got to get rid of a couple of guitars and stuff. So if any of you are in the market and you want something cool, let me know. There might be something within my tickle trunk here that you guys can use that I'm going to be getting rid of. And Zarly's absolutely right. If you have a second thought, don't do it. Always sleep on it. That's one thing, one piece of advice I'm going to give everybody out there is like, if you're not 100% sure, don't buy it. Just wait. Wait, give yourself a couple of good night's sleep to determine whether or not you still like it or you still want it. If it still speaks to you after a couple of days, then go grab it. Davis says, I just sold my Made in England Marshall half stack and regretted every moment of it. Ooh. Davis, I feel for you, buddy. I wish I would say like, don't worry about it. But the real gear junkie in me is like, you know, are you sure? I don't want you to feel bad, but are you sure? Made in England Marshalls, they sound great. Do you want to tell me why you ended up selling it? Or am I just making it more painful? If I'm just making it more painful, Davis, let it be. So William says, if I had to sell my Splon, I'd never heal. I'd never heal. I know. Those are some awesome amplifiers, you know, like you don't always come across those amplifiers. When you have them, if you're not sure, just hang on to them. You can always sell them later. Gene says, seller regrets is worse than buyer's remorse. I know. You're right. So Max says, yeah, I saw that Anderson's video last night. Nice pedals, but why buy more pedals? Buy a new guitar. You know, if it comes to buying stuff, pedals, guitars, or amps, this is the way I feel about it nowadays. And that's, you know, I'm talking through the voice of somebody that's a little bit spoiled, because I do think I have like really nice gear in terms of the amps that I have and stuff. I've selected them and acquired them over time and bought and sold a whole bunch to basically get the couple of amps that I really like, for example, that I feel like I've tried a lot more and I'm always going to keep on trying more, but it's getting harder and harder to knock off one of these amps to bring in a new one. So the way I look at it right now, it's the amplifiers are great to buy, but if you already have a great amplifier, like I think a lot of amplifiers now, a lot of people are getting away from real amps and they're going through modelers, they're going through multi-effects and all these kind of things. So if you have a really good old amplifier, like a 100-watt Marshall, a Super Lead or Plexi or GCM 800 or something like that, JTM 45, like you want to hang on to those, but at the same time, like it's going to be harder to sell them, because as time goes on, less and less people need a 100-watt tube amplifier. So if you're going to spend money on gear, you're probably better off buying a guitar. The reason why is that it's always easier to sell, it's less of a hit, and you know, if you like it, you keep it forever. If you don't like it, it's easier to flip, you know. Whereas I see a lot of these super powerful amplifiers floating around the used market for a long time, because unless you're playing in a live band, and even at that, unless you're playing in a stadium or something, you don't need 100 watts anymore. You know, heck, even 50 is a lot today if you crank it. So it's harder to get those gear items moved once you want to sell them, unless you sell it to somebody who's got an attenuator and, you know, has a whole setup at home so you can play the loud amplifiers at reasonable volumes, you know. So that's the way I look at it. It's like, you know, guitars easier, pedals, I mean, you can buy and sell pedals all day long. That's not a big risk. You know, you can have fun with that. But you know, amplifiers, if you have good ones and they're old and loud, a little bit more challenging. Jason McDaniel says, would love to buy your Egnator cab to match my tweaker. Thoughts? Look, man, you know, maybe, maybe. I don't use it much, to be honest with you. You know, it's really just like it's like a double stack. I got my Egnator and I got my other one that I built, and I even forget which. There's a custom speaker in there. I don't know, give me a shout after the show or something like that. Maybe we can come up with some kind of a deal. You know, if you're local, I guess it would be easier. I wouldn't want to ship that anywhere. It would be too expensive. Jeff says, I sold almost all my amps and drive pedals when I got a Synergy, the Synergy 20 IR. Those are making a lot of waves in the market lately, and I know a lot of people are happy with those because you can really get super close to the real amp sound, and it's very flexible. I was very curious about that, and I would love to try a demo, just demo that one. I don't know how long they last, if they're good in terms of like wear and tear. I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of like hi-fi equipment, really. So it's like, how does it, how solid is it in terms of like taking it to gigs and all that kind of stuff? I always worry about that. There was a couple of comments, not many, on the poll question, so I'll read those to you. Somebody here says used to competitively ride dirt bikes and have broken both feet, ankles, and toes. Selling an amp just to clear space hurt more. I can always look at my feet again. And somebody else here says, I've gotten rid of amps to upgrade, but can never bring myself to sell or trade one I love. And that's how we end up with way too many amps. Good problem to have. Yeah, I could totally relate to that. And then finally somebody says, anyone who answered other than a broken toe has never had a broken toe. I tend to agree with that as well. As somebody who has a fractured toe, it's painful. It is painful. Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to leave you with that. I think we've been talking quite a bit today. It's been a good conversation. I was hoping to go through a whole bunch of other points that I had here on my list I wanted to talk about, but we never got to it, so I'll save that for part of next week's show. I'm glad you guys tuned in. If I confused people with the time error, I apologize for that, but next week, same time, same place. You know the drill. Sunday morning, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time is usually the Addicted to Gear show. So if you like what you're doing, you like what we're hearing, we like how we're sharing this platform with all you gear fanatics, then tune in regularly. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do it, because not only do we have the live Sunday shows, but we also have the gear reviews and videos. And stay tuned for this one, which will probably happen tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not really sure. It's not finished yet, so I still have work to do on that, but it'll be out sometime this week. And I have some other interesting stuff happening. I might have something on my messy workbench for you later as well. So I'll let you know about all that stuff as well. Okay. Jason says, yes, I love my tweaker. I put 7025 tubes and 5881 power tube, super loud but super smooth for 15 watts. And Jeff says, the only amp I kept are the Sir Ombre and a Cornell Plexi 1820 that was owned by Noel Gallagher. Really nice. Hey, Jeff, tell me a little bit about the Ombre, because I know a lot of people don't understand that particular amp. It doesn't have a lot of gain, but it takes pedals well from what I understand, and it can get you into that ZZ Top territory. I think that's why they call it the Sir Ombre. You don't see very many of those on the used market, at least not in my neck of the woods. Music and Gear says the Renegade is the one I have. That's the one I used to have too. I had an Egnator Renegade too. They're great. They work really well. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week. Enjoy yourselves. Go and play your guitar. I'm going to play the heck out of this one tonight. Hopefully things will go well, and I'll report back next Sunday Same time, same place. All right. On the way out, if you don't mind hitting that like button, if you give us a thumbs up, it helps us. All right. Have a great week, guys. See you soon.